The story begins with Masao fapping in his room in the weirdest fascination possible. But little did he know his broad Jav collection of his favorite actress would meet him at his end that day. Masao has been used to this life for a decade now, and all of a sudden, he is met with a goddess named Ada Rudo. Ada lets him know that he has met his end while fapping, and he ended up forcing through the second floor of his house. Knowing that he will be found dead naked, Masao wishes that he would have at least worn his favorite futon. Masao confesses that dying of suffocation under a girl's ass might have been better in groaning pain, as he is a virgin after all. Masao lets her know about his last which is not wanting to be dying as a virgin, and Ada claims that there is no way he will be able to satisfy her. Realizing that he will be unsatisfied for his whole life, Ada decides to reincarnate him in another world where he might change his course of life. Ada touches his forehead to grant him the ability to understand the language of that world and leaves a parting gift for him by kissing his ding-dong. As soon as he vanishes in thin air in front of her, Masao feels like he is feeling the burst of rain on his body. And someone finds Masao as a baby in the middle of a forest in a baby carriage. Soon enough, nervousness courses through his body as he has been abandoned as a child, and a woman picks him up to cover him from the cold. But Masao is glad for the fact that he at least has his name in this world, and the woman wraps him around her breast to take him into shelter. When he begins to regain consciousness, he finds out that the lady has been breastfeeding him the whole time, and he can take a good look at her face. Just as he takes a look at her body, Masao realizes that she is quite a beauty, similar to his favorite Jav actress, and she has been taking care of him for a while now. Whenever it comes to the time for him to be breastfed by her, Masao keeps staring at the huge melons on her, and he begins to chug the milk down his throat as much as possible. Masao feels like his weak body is gaining strength after drinking her milk. And one day a farmer comes out to the woman Mashido asking if she will be fine taking care of another child while she is already struggling. But she insists that she will be fine as Masao looks cute as well, and the farmer holds him in the air to get him into sunlight. But it seems that the village is already under attack because of a huge geiju, and this is when Masao realizes that this world is filled with monsters of various kinds. Just when he feels like he is about to die here after having such wonderful luck and getting such a good-looking mother, the group of farmers begins to chase down the monster to get some nice rewards from the Lord. In an instant, the monster dies, and as Masao begins to gain consciousness about the world around him, he notices that the village might be surrounded by a huge forest, and the newlywed couple on the other side of the room barely lets him have some time to sleep. As days pass, Masao notices that the world is surrounded by cheating and MILFs allowing young men to devour them, and it is the only form of entertainment around here. While he and the other children are busy being carried by the nanny, Mashido is having fun in the field and around the corners of the house with others. Masao realizes that there is no boundary between anyone in this village as they help each other to carry their passion. And Masao keeps wishing to become an adult to have fun as well. As Masao grows up after 7 years, Masao keeps running around to hug his so-called mother Mashido by wrapping around her huge butt and finds himself sandwiched by it. Just as he is having fun, Mashido claims that he cannot be this spoiled by her forever, and he will have to face the important day of job calling ritual which is taken by everyone in this world. Along with the forbidden entertainment in this world, people have to find suitable tasks to find out their own rules in play. And later on, Masao and Mashido push through the church to find out what is written on his luck. The bunch of adult males in the church begins to explain how some jobs will let him know that depending on his job, nobles might be able to hire him if he is a knight or a scholar. There are magicians as well who are good at controlling people's minds, even though Masao feels like staying with Mashido will be a better option for him. Mashido lets him know that no matter what kind of job he gets, he will always be loved by her, and Masao decides to push through the most important decision of his life. As soon as Masao steps into the hallway, the priest finds out that he has been bestowed with the job of Rod Master, and Masao thinks of the time when the goddess blessed him with something. When everyone is shocked to see what Masao has gotten up in his sleeves, Mashido insists that he is still himself after all despite the job he has been blessed with and hides him under his melons. The village chief comes into the scene and asks everyone to bless him, who will be planting the seed of the whole village one day. And the only thing that Masao keeps on looking forward to is quitting his life as a virgin. Masao promises to himself for the reason that he will give it all to sing the praises of Ero in this world. Even so, the reality is not as profound as he thought, and finds himself getting bullied by his stepbrother, Calliope, and even though he seems to wield the beauty of Mashido, he is nothing like her on the inside. It seems that Calliope knows that Masao has been busy with his mother throughout various nights, and Masao feels ashamed by it for a bit. Even though Calliope thinks of having a sword or spear under his name, Machido decides not to listen to her, which makes him run away from the house like the brat that he is. Just when Callippa leaves the house, Masao thinks of having his opportunity to massage Machido, and while she is busy chatting him up with the matter of being a knight, Masao is too focused on inhaling the smell of Machido's body like a pervert. After some time, Masao realizes that Machido's voice is getting deeper than ever, and she has been making it rather lewd, which portrays the kind of massaging session he has been looking at in his previous life. Soon enough, Machido's breast gets out of the clothes and Masao pushes through with the skills of his rod master, which courses through the power of his god hand, without any kind of equipment in the first place. As Machido reaches the end of the course, she assumes that both of her children right now must be going through a growth period of body and spirit, and she relays the fact that Masao is rather mature compared to the kids his age. Machido claims that no matter what their jobs are, the intuition will finally arrive even though it takes more time than they anticipate. Instead of dwelling on much of the equipment he might need, Masao thinks of looking into the future and helps his mother with the power of his god hand and dinner. The next day, the treatment as a stepbrother finally begins as Callippa thinks of holding Masao in as a retainer. Just when Masao gets out the pestle as his weapon, Callippa begins to burst out laughing as he has seen the funniest clown in the world. As they get outside of the house and Callippa focuses on hunting the wild rabbits, Masao feels the urge to protect his brother as his mother will be sad if he dies or something happens to him. After looking for a while, they are unable to find any kind of mouse or wild rabbits in any way, and Masao presses on getting back to the house for now. But as Callippa presses on, they end up finding themselves in front of a huge bear monster and their face goes blank. As Masao looks into the memories of his past, he realizes that this is the same kind of devil bear that once took the whole village to take it down. Callippa ends up falling on Masao and starts acting the cutest way possible, which looks rather gay if you want me to be honest. Soon enough, Masao realizes that Callippa's cute ass is not touching his private gun, if you know what I mean, and Masao thinks of protecting his brother in this tragedy. Masao realizes that even though his private part is waking up, his body doesn't act in any way, and it enlarges so much that it ends up almost hitting the bear devil monster in one strike as he touches it. But Masao realizes that it might be the pestle that was in his pocket, or at least he thought so, and it gets stuck inside one of the nearby trees. Soon enough, Masao starts hitting the bear devil with the bulging weapon in his hand, and the bear keeps on screaming in pain while Masao screams the heck out of it. When the situation finally calms down, Masao realizes that his brother has peed in his pants and tries to get the wet pants out. But that is the moment when he realizes that his brother is not a boy, but a biological girl for sure whom he might be interested in. As soon as the cat is out of the bag, more like a pussy to be honest, and Callippa starts rejecting the idea that she is a woman, and Masao realizes that she might be rather delusional. When he tries to think about it more, Masao feels like he might be the one at fault for not knowing about her gender, since he has been staring at his mother the whole time, and Callippa has been running around with the boys her age. When he asks Callippa, she claims that she wants to live as a man, as no one would think of her as a female knight, while her only goal is to become a knight, the reason why she thinks of getting back at the men. Now that Callippa knows that Masao is stronger than her in some ways and sits on the ground in inner pain, Masao laughs inside as he is only able to do something like that because of his impending lust. As Masao looks at Callippa, he realizes that she might be a crybaby at times, but she is braver than most in this kind of situation and claims that he is rooting for her no matter what happens, as he asks for her to become a real female knight. She thanks him as Masao settles the clothing on her back, and they both think of settling on both of their dreams in the future. After that incident, Masao and Callippa both begin to train alongside each other, and after some years, both of them have been engaging in intimate relationships, most of the time in the secluded forest so no one can see them. Callippa thinks that their intimate relationship might be useful after all, as they can make it look like a leg training day, and the thickness of her thighs keeps on squeezing on Masao. As they keep on banging each other like rabbits, Masao realizes that he has done nothing wrong by sacrificing his virginity for her, as it is rather worth it. Enjoying every last bit of their relationship has been their daily routine, and Masao and Callippa both thank and apologize to each other through intimate positions. But they think of keeping their relationship secret even though they are not related in any way, and Masao keeps on practicing with his pestle to assume the secrets behind his skills. As they have been getting better through their training, Masao and Callippa both set on hunting wild rabbits, but Masao keeps getting busy handling the matter of deer beasts in the forest with the pestle in his hand. Even though Masao might be better at hunting than Callippa, she is rather precise when it comes to dismantling the meat. Just as they are about to return home, Masao thinks of quitting their habits for now, but Calliope comes out of nowhere and starts making out before he can realize anything. Even though Calliope thinks of having some more fun, Masao assumes that it might be bad as they are almost back in the village. But he feels like they might not be able to hide their relationship for a long time now. But knowing that they cannot hurt their mother by revealing themselves, Masao proposes the idea of coming back to the forest every day, and after gushing all over each other for a bit, they continue to move on outside of the forest. Even though they feel like they have been keeping their secrets safe, someone in one of the bushes is focusing on them, and that person seems to know about all of their secrets. Just as they are back from the forest, both of them are greeted by the old lady, and when Calliope thinks of moving on, the stingy neighborhood guy starts calling for her as he proposes the idea of having dinner together. But instead of paying too much attention to the man, Calliope holds onto his brother's hand, and they continue to walk out of there by shaming the man to death. Soon enough, the group of guys who have already been rejected by Calliope asks the man Rebo to come to their side as it is rather inevitable. As soon as Calliope and Masao are back at their house, Machido greets them both by surrounding them with the help of her huge breasts, as if they have been blessed by two huge melons. On the other hand, Masao has been having a hard time keeping his urges controlled after being held down by his mother. Just as the dinner table goes silent, Machido asks them to help them out with something, and Masao remembers that she has been leaving the house quite early in the morning and she has to return late at night. After hearing the worried voice of his mother, Masao claims that he will be helping her out, and Calliope thinks of joining in as well, and they think of leaving early in the morning as soon as possible. In the early morning, they keep on accompanying their mother, and Calliope is worried why they are carrying such a huge sack in the middle of the forests. After passing a bit into the forest, they are met with hundreds of men, and Machido reveals that she has been hiding this their whole life, and she is nothing but a leader of the Goblin Slaying Corps. The fact that their mother is nothing but a goblin slayer which only exists in the fairy tale keeps getting over their heads. And while Calliope is worried about the reality, Masao thinks of what the goblins will be doing with ladies as he knows of Ero mangas. This whole life their mother has been trying to convince them that the goblins surely do not exist. But now they are all left out in the open as if the whole thing has been nothing but a blatant lie. If the reality check made by his mother was not enough, the goblins kept on rushing in their direction and started hunting down the men in the groups. As soon as their mother starts rushing toward the wounded people, Masao remembers that his mother has been healing him her whole life whenever they are hurt. The same old farmer who met him when he was still a newborn comes around. Takeyasu begins to elaborate on the importance of the things they have to do in their life to make it safer for the other villagers. When Masao and Calliope seem to worry about their mother, Takeyasu claims that she is capable enough, and she catches the goblin that is about to hurt her. After holding on to her weapon, Machido reveals the huge axe she has been carrying around, and it seems that she has gained quite some proficiency when it comes to being a warrior. Even though she might look like she is the weakest woman in the bunch, she is the strongest in the pack of goblin hunters, which made them name her the Peacemaker. When the old man seems to only talk, Machido asks him to do the same as the others, promising that they will have to continue until there are no goblins to attack the village. Calliope, on the other hand, is confused and impressed at the same time as she has been looking at the biggest battle axe in her whole life, and they start spotting the footprints of the goblins through the village near the forest. Even though the whole group has been trying their best, the goblins have been increasing in numbers, and Machido suggests Masao and Calliope use the armor they have been carrying the whole time. Knowing that they have been traced by some of the goblins in the middle of the forest, Masao is worried as he knows that if the goblin ends up taking over the whole forest, they might not be able to have fun anymore. When they are finally prepared, Calliope rubs her body onto Masao's, and after hearing this, Masao starts enlarging his dong into a huge thing only to bash in goblin heads. Just when he is too much in his head to have fun with his elder sister, Masao is about to be attacked by some goblins only to be saved by his mother as she cuts through the tree nearby. After sticking around with each other for a while, Calliope presses Masao saying that they have to keep their relationship secret no matter what, and Masao feels sorry knowing that his mother is his first love in this world till now. When Calliope begins to bicker with Masao for holding the walnut-like pestle in his hand as Masao worries too much about his mother, Machido hears and comes in to touch the little thing, which eventually turns into something huge as if it is about to touch the skies. After seeing the sight, Calliope is mad and runs into the forest, and while Machido focuses on the goblins chasing them down, she asks Masao to chase Calliope as she might be in danger for sure if she is not in her proper mind. As Masao begins to run, Masao wonders what he is about to do as he is in love with both of the ladies in his life, only to find that Calliope has been hit with an arrow in her leg. Even though Masao might be concerned about her wound, Calliope only thinks of having fun with Masao, and to make her dreams come true, Masao starts railing inside of her. While getting busy with their private business, Masao starts activating his paramedic skill, which keeps healing someone while having fun with them. When Masao focuses on healing her fully, which is about to take some time, Masao can notice some goblins in further distance, and Masao starts holding his pestle in his hand to bash all of their heads and for hurting his sister. If that wasn't making the scene harsh for the goblins enough, Calliope joins the battle while settling in the intimate position as she slices through the goblin heads. While moving through the corpses of the goblins, she keeps squirming as it keeps tingling between her legs, and even though it is not easy for either of them, none of them are ready to let themselves go. When they finally lose their shit, the blood is splattering everywhere, and it is a mess as the last bit hits the curtains. As the bloodbath finally ends, Mashido arrives ahead of them, and she is out of her mind after seeing them in such a position. After seeing them in such a position, half naked and up on each other, Mashido tries to rush toward them, and the only thing Masao and Calliope keep on wishing for them is for God to help them out in this situation. But as soon as she is about to reach them, they notice that a huge hand appears out of nowhere to grab Mashido out of nowhere as if something out of fantasy happened, and they contemplate chasing after her since she is in danger. When they get out of the deeper range of the forest, they notice that the whole army of guys have been defeated by the goblin swarm as if they came out of nowhere marching against them. Instead of focusing on the men, Masao and Calliope focus on their mother instead, and they notice that a huge, tall goblin has been holding her captive in his hand and it is babbling some bullshit. Even though they are all out of their minds seeing that the huge goblin can speak to them as it can understand their language, Masao focuses on his pestle to hit the monster on his own, but nothing happens, and the same happens to Calliope's sword as well as it breaks apart. Mashido shouts at them saying that this huge monster is an evolved form of a goblin, and there is no way they will be winning against something like this, so their only option is to run away from here. At the same time, the old farmer from before claims that their mother has been trying to keep the swarm away from them the whole time. But Masao knows that he cannot leave his first love in this world and let her sacrifice herself for everyone. When Masao keeps trying to hit the monster to harm it, the monster rips apart Mashido's clothes and mentions that he is about to have a lot of fun after taking him back to his home. Seeing this troubling situation, Masao holds Calliope's melons and runs away in the distance, which allows the goblin to mock Mashido as her children are abandoning her, and Calliope is unable to understand anything. While Calliope is rejecting the idea of fleeing away, the old man mentions that they will be finished one by one if they stay. And at that time, Masao rushes away along with his huge dong to hit the heck out of the monster's eyes inside out. The monster tries to hold onto his eyes and Masao takes the chance to run away with Mashido. It seems that Masao has used Calliope's melons as some kind of inspiration to harden his pestle. When the whole group of villagers loses their help, Calliope tries her best to keep their composure intact and starts using her feature of morale increment as a knight, which starts to motivate the losing army of villagers. When the rock goblin starts rushing in their direction, Mashido insists that she will become the prey instead of her, but Masao promises that there is no way he would let the goblin take the woman and her as sex toys. Even though Masao starts to act like he is a macho man, he gets thrown into further distance and ends up hitting the trees far behind. Realizing that Masao is in a bad situation, Mashido begs him to stop as she doesn't want him to die trying to protect her, but Masao remarks that there is no way in the world he would let her cry or see her in danger. The next time the monster tries to hit him, Masao starts deflecting the attack using the best he can while holding in with the huge pestle. Suddenly, he feels like the heaviness is being removed, only to notice that his gorgeous sister and mother are pulling through with him to help him out. With the help of both of their melons, Masao keeps pulling through the heaviness of the club of the monster, and it ends up shattering through the club in the end. If that wasn't enough, the pestle grows so big that it ends up weighing the monster's whole body, and Masao starts spinning the heck out of it along with his companions. Masao might be a human, but the desire to have fun with his women makes him pull through the trouble so much that he ends up spinning the heck out of the monster in a large distance. Just when the battle is done with the clash of Erection hammers, Masao plops down on Mashido's melons as he is out of his mind and tired, and the whole village is cheering for him. As the battle ends, Masao wakes up after being called by Calliope, and his whole body is in tatters as he has been shattered inside out in the battle with the huge rock goblin. But he is at least safe at home, and Calliope starts proposing to him to do something together once again, despite his health condition. When Masao thinks of the situation around him, Masao feels like his sister has been growing into a pervert to think of something like this while they are back at their house. But as he looks into the dark corner of his mind carrying the skill unrivaled, he knows that doing something dirty might be healing his body and ends up agreeing to it in the end. But when he finally says yes to her, Calliope starts calling in their mother and Masao is shocked out of his mind seeing that Calliope did something like this intentionally. As Masao realizes that something is about to happen, Machido explains that she is dying to know what can be of help to him in this situation, and Calliope ends up speaking the truth and she now knows everything after all. Being in this situation, Masao feels like something is about to go wrong in here as she must be bursting with anger and he will be dead in a few moments. But instead of being mad at him, Masao feels the warmth of his mother's buns on his face and begins to replay the scene of what he used to do in his childhood and requests him to accept her. After seeing this change in Machido, Masao sighs in relief knowing that they have finally accepted him, and the body starts to break as his arousal is taking the best of him already. After seeing that the situation is deteriorating, Calliope lets her mother know that he is worsening than before because his arousal is reopening his wounds, and they start to think of stopping the bleeding as soon as possible. Knowing that they do not have any way to use the cloth to stop the bleeding, Calliope starts using her melons to warm him up, which starts to smoothen the situation for them. It seems that Masao ended up forgetting the skill due to the ecstasy, and his whole mind starts to go blank whenever he sees her body. As soon as he expresses that he wants to be sandwiched between them both, the girls begin to rub their melons together to warm himself and the whole thing is done for him. Even though he is not a baby anymore, Masao knows that he cannot avoid being breastfed by his mother and he obediently accepts that as much as possible. The whole time he looks like a baby sucking on her melons, and Calliope gets between them as well since she doesn't want to avoid being left out. When the whole affection treatment is done, all of them start smothering each other in a huge bucket and Masao feels like he is the happiest man in the world. Now Masao feels better knowing that his whole family has accepted him, and they are happy that they have been able to help him out, despite his perverted acts in his life as he is beloved by his women. On the other hand, the news of Masao and Calliope defeating the goblins starts to roar in somewhere else in a noble's house, and the noblewoman is excited to meet who has been able to defeat the goblins. Just when the goblins are done, orcs begin showing up near the village and the forest and they barely have any time to recover, but Masao becomes more popular lately, and he has been mowing as many women as possible. But Calliope knows that it must be the way of life for someone like him, so she doesn't seem to overreact when it comes to sharing. And she feels like she will still stay as his number one, so she doesn't have an issue with it. Just when they think of getting their hands dirty in their daily work, the same old man from the noblewoman's house comes in to present some kind of proposition for them. Machido introduces the man and claims that he is the lord who governs their village and the whole area with it. And Masao and Calliope start bowing down to the man to pay their respect. The old man seems to be looking for a guard for his daughter, and the man claims that his daughter Sutafu will be leaving for education far away from this area, so he wants some kind of guard who will keep her company and protected. Just when the old man presents that he wants the guard to be around her age, Masao feels like he must have been speaking about him the whole time, and the way the old man explains the whole situation makes him realize that he will be allowed to see the daughter bathing ahead of him and do everything that she wants him to do. After some time, the old man directs in Calliope's direction for the achievement that she has been gathering and remarks that she will have the opportunity to become a knight right now. But she doesn't seem to be happy because it means that she will have to leave the village, and that way she will have to split up with her brother. Just after seeing that Calliope has been hesitating, Machido remarks that he should be doing the same thing for her son as well, since in that way no one will have any kind of burden. After hearing the urging information provided by Machido, the old man cannot help but accept her proposition, and Machido thanks the old man for listening to her pleading. Even though Machido has been doing all this for her children, Calliope is not that happy to see that her mother has decided on her own because she doesn't have any option other than splitting them. After thinking the whole thing through, Masao claims that he will obey the decision that his mother has taken for them, and promises that he will be bearing witness to Calliope becoming a female knight, which reminds her of the time when they first had their intimate situation. As they all come together in this situation, Machido claims that no matter what happens she will always want both of her children to shine brightly wherever they go. Even though it might be an emotional situation for all of them, Masao starts taking off her clothes and starts chugging through the melons of his mother, knowing that this is the only time left for him. Calliope realizes that he might be a dumbfuck, but he is right about it, so she does the same as him. Just as the clock ticks and they wrap up on breastfeeding, Masao takes his clothes off, saying that he wants to spend the night with them. The whole night Masao keeps himself busy on his sister and mother's body, only to bid the whole village their farewell as they move in the direction of the nobleman's house. On the way, Masao and Calliope promise to each other to do their best for their future, and the daughter of the old man has been waiting to meet them both as if she is dreaming about the future ahead of her. After reaching the gate of the house of the nobleman, Masao and Calliope both are out of their minds, seeing that they are ahead of a huge mansion, the thing they have never expected to see. The old man starts speaking to them, saying that he has been waiting for them for quite some time, and Masao and Calliope both bow their head to pay their respect toward the man. After hearing about their mother from the old man's mouth, they both realize that their mother is considered to be scary in the first place, the way they have never imagined or felt before. As the old man keeps speaking about his daughter, Masao realizes that the old man thinks highly of his daughter, and he is rather protective when it comes to her safety in the first place. Just as they reach out to the door of the daughter, she greets Masao and Calliope both rather calmly, and she asks if they are losing their breath while offering them to drink tea with her. After seeing the face of the young woman, Masao and Calliope both lose their mind, realizing that the old man was not lying about her grace after all. But after looking around the room for a while, the young woman realizes that she doesn't recognize the two people with her father and starts asking about their identity. After hearing her out, both Masao and Calliope bow in front of her to show their respect toward her as they introduce themselves as they belong to the Irumi village. She instantly rushes toward them to touch their hands to thank them, as she has already heard of both of them defeating the goblin herd some time ago. Knowing that she truly doesn't have any friends around her age, she thinks of getting along with them, and she introduces herself as Sutafu. When it comes to the introduction of Masao and Calliope, Sutafu doesn't understand what kind of job Masao does, since she has never heard of something such as a pole master in the first place. She remarks that both of their jobs might be suitable for them and explains that she is a priest after all. And the old man claims that there is no reason for her to worry about anything, since she will be fine as long as she fulfills her role, which is the only reason why he ended up hiring both of the guards. Just when Sutafu begins to move the chair to measure the differences between her and Masao's bodies while holding herself against his back, the old man throws a knife into the wall to make them realize that they cannot be close to each other. As the situation settles down, Calliope thinks of helping her to prepare already as they have to leave soon, but Sutafu thinks of having a cup of tea with the both of them. When Masao insists Calliope accept her request, Sutafu invites Masao as well when he is moving away from them, but the old man insists that he has to help move the furniture. While moving away the furniture and also some of the maids, Masao keeps peeking over to the girls, seeing that they have been having fun while Sutafu calls out for him once again. Just as Sutafu bids farewell to her father, she lets Masao and Calliope know that she will have to do her best since she is about to take her father's job in the future, and she will need their help for what she wants to become in the future. In the middle of the road, Sutafu claims that she has a request for both of them and insists that she has to learn about nothing but sex. After hearing the lady talk, Masao and Calliope both are out of their mind as they have never expected to hear something out of her mouth, and she repeats the same thing once again. She looks rather serious, and she explains that she might need to know about this since she wants to take care of the business, and insists that she is asking them to help her in this since they are rather experienced, which makes both Masao and Calliope to look at each other suspiciously. After some time, Masao realizes that Calliope has been the one speaking about this and spilling all the beans about her life this whole time. But they were never supposed to share something like this with anyone. Even though the young lady was disgusted about it in the first place, she later started getting used to it, knowing that the babies are made in this way, and got into it. Just as the young lady jumps in front of Masao and insists that she has to learn about sex from him and Calliope, Masao begins to cover the carriage by settling the curtains, as he knows that it will get messy if the guards and coaches get to know what they are speaking of. Masao knows that if her father gets to know about it, Masao and Calliope and her whole family will be murdered and punished brutally, but it is not enough to calm the young lady's ass down. Knowing that there is nothing else to do rather than performing it in front of her, Calliope begins to undress in front of her, knowing that they have to do it anyway. Calliope shames Masao for being awake in the lower part of his body, and the size of his dong starts scaring the young lady out. It seems that she has never seen something like this in her whole life, and it seems that she has never known what it looks like as the maids used to take care of her. Knowing that Masao will become the first man of her life, Masao's dong starts to twitch in happiness, and Masao holds Callippa above from the ground even though it is about to become rather hard for them to concentrate in the carriage. Even though they have been traveling in a vehicle, Masao promises to Callippa saying that he is about to do his best to please her, and they begin to elaborate on how sex works to the young lady. After seeing her face, Masao and Callippa notice that she has been having nosebleeds, and they now know that the show of bravery must be too much for someone like her. Just when Callippa is about to finish and wrap up, the young lady gets so close to her and Callippa ends up wetting her up, and her body begins to reveal at 1 second. Just when Masao and Callippa think of finishing up the lesson for the final segment as they are on the road, they realize something bigger is waiting for them. The young lady instantly starts raising her skirt and insists that they have to begin the practical lesson right now, making them realize that they have lit some kind of fire of seduction in her. Knowing what Masao will have to do, as he will have to mate with her, he instantly claims that it is not about to happen, as the old man was scary as hell and he is about to lose his life if something like this gets out. But when the young lady insists that she has to go through it, Masao claims that he can only do it under one condition, which is that she cannot make any kind of noise throughout the session, or it will be the end of it. But after hearing this whole thing, Callippa thinks that the whole rule thing must be too hard on her, and the only thing that Masao keeps thinking about is quitting this whole thing. Even so, the young lady seems interested in going through it no matter what, and just when the lesson begins for her, Masao pokes her melons with both of his fingers. Just when he thinks of spanking her buns, she agrees even before he is about to utter anything with her mouth, as she has been reading his mind. But Masao tries to think that it might be nothing but a mere coincidence. Knowing that he cannot punish her as a guard of her own, Masao makes it happen till the end anyway and thinks of going through the end of the lesson on his own to help her out. When she insists that he should go through it once again, Masao knows that it is a better situation for him to use his skills to challenge her and starts pressing her buns, assuming that it might be able to raise her voice. But Masao hears her praying instead of moaning, and just when he is about to move through the main course of the session, she ends up breaking apart and makes some noise. Knowing that they cannot move through to the end of the lesson, the young lady kisses Masao on his cheek and confesses her love to him. But at this point, Masao is too much into it and he claims that there is no way he will be able to let her end the lesson right now, and they end up making out even more. Instantly, Masao starts rushing inside of her, and after some time, they end up coming near the end and they both feel the rush of their intimate situation. At that point, the guards start calling out for her from the outside of the carriage and let them know that they are about to reach the town soon enough, but they will have to stay in their location for the night. To confirm that they are all about to be in the same room, the young lady lets the guard know, saying that she will need a room where it will have enough space for 3 persons at once, as she wants to continue what they are doing in the inn as well, only for Masao to realize that they have awakened a monster within her. At night in the inn, Masao and the young lady are both busy continuing their lesson, and throughout the lesson, Masao keeps on leaving some notes here and there to teach her how it works. When she is interested in why he keeps on training this hard, Masao explains that he wants to protect his beloved woman, is why he works so hard in his life. Masao promises that he will be protecting her till the end while covering herself with his own body, and the whole situation gets Callippa rather jealous, and she points out that he cannot act this cool all the time paying attention to her. It seems that the young lady already knows about the things done by Masao, and she knows that it is not just dirty stories, but she also knows how much they love each other. The young lady feels like she might be ruining their relationship, but Masao holds both of their melons to make them feel like they are neither being ignored by him, and he will be sharing his body with both of them in the same way. As they finish their course of night after being all sweaty, the young lady remarks that she wants to do the same thing from this day onwards, and they all think of taking a vow when Masao thinks of it. It seems that they have already reached the capital, and Masao is yet to notice anything, as they have been busy with each other's bodies as if they are addicted to each other. After some time, the girls wake up and Masao reminds them that they will have to prepare for their entrance ceremony the next morning. After seeing that he has gotten the same uniform, Masao feels like he is back in his past life, and both of the girls are already prepared and waiting for him. Realizing that something must be worrying the young lady, Callippa asks her about it, and it seems that she is worried about both of them, as she assumes that something might happen to them as well. The young lady promises that she doesn't want to embarrass her family, so she will have to continue to grow up alongside both of them, at least for the piece of her territory. But at the same time, she wants all of them to enjoy their lives as students here, and soon enough they get into the entrance ceremony of the royal school. When the ceremony is done and taken care of, a teacher in charge of first-year students named Whip comes in front of them, and Masao is already excited seeing such a gorgeous teacher ahead of him. As Masao leaves an idiotic reply, the teacher ties him up almost in an instant, and when Masao finally asks for her forgiveness, the teacher thinks of evaluating all of them after seeing them fight one by one. Whip explains that they will have to battle each other to measure their aptitude when it comes to abilities, and the whole thing will be called a friendly match. But the school is full of nobles and people from noble families, and if they do not want to participate in the battles on their own, they do not have to, as it depends on their abilities and opinions. Just when Masao thinks of making the issue clear, Masao steps in to have a conversation, and the teacher points out that he must be the one having an odd job of pole master, which is rather unclear. Insisting that she has high hopes for him, Whip uses her whip on his ass to make him move on to the battlefield training ground, and a girl named Bloom, who is the second daughter of Whack Territory feudal lord who is a magician. Just when the girl begins to show off with her magic full of flowers and flames, Calliope begins to guard the young lady Sutafu, knowing that she must be in danger because of such impending fire. They all introduce themselves to each other, and Bloom claims that she will be looking forward to seeing both Masao and Calliope in the training ground. When Bloom claims that she is waiting to have some strong people around her, and proposes the idea of having Sutafu's companions, Sutafu confirms that she cannot have them at all, as they are considered as her friends, so they really cannot be treated as tools. Soon enough, Bloom gets called by her attendant and they instantly leave the grounds, and Calliope starts screaming her lungs out, saying that she will soon make an example out of the disrespecting girl for Sutafu. But Sutafu insists that none of them are about to participate in anything, and Calliope starts reacting to it more, assuming that she might not believe their abilities. Even so, Sutafu claims that she is scared shitless for both of them, and since she has already been attacked by monsters on their way and she could pull through with her healing skills, she cannot be able to forgive them if something happens to them for her. They end up promising each other that they might not be reacting to the situation right now, but they will have to act up when the time finally comes up. When the battle finally begins, the sons and daughters of the nobles seem displeased with the performance given by their slaves, only to leave the last contenders to be Bloom and her bodyguard Clay Moa. It seems that Moa managed to get through the end of the fight with all of them as if it was nothing much for her, and Bloom thinks that she is too strong for all of them, and they announce that they are at the top of the whole chain. Also, they both point out that they have won, and they are about to mow through the others as they have the winning advantage and privilege. And Bloom announces that she is disappointed in Sutafu. She even calls her out as a fool, and she insists that Sutafu must continue to think of becoming a priest instead of the next lord of her area. Just when Sutafu feels like she is being shamed by everyone around them and closes her eyes, Masao moves forward with the enlarged pestle in his hand and starts pointing it toward Bloom. Even though Masao and Calliope kneel in front of Sutafu as they have acted without the direction of their master, Sutafu, she knows that she is the one who baked out at the last moment, and she is unable to move through her cowardness. Then as they all reunite once again, Sutafu gains enough strength to participate in the battle, and the teacher allows them all to do whatever they want as they make their announcement clear in front of the whole crowd. Sutafu even claims that they are all about to smash Bloom and her bodyguard without any kind of mercy, and Bloom and Moa are not amused by it at all, and the reaction on Moa's face is rather priceless. As soon as it has been confirmed that they want to participate, Bloom allows Moa to get into the training grounds and permits her, saying that she can smash her opponents. Just when Sutafu is asked who they want to bring in the middle, Masao insists that he alone will be fine against Moa, and he starts holding on to Calliope's melons to gather his motivation. When everyone around them notices the whole thing, they are out of their mind, and Sutafu herself thinks of being on the sidelines for Masao, and Masao takes the chance to polish her buns at the same time. The boys in the back witness the whole thing, and they are unable to comprehend how this guy keeps molesting women without being punished, and the last woman was his master after all. At this moment, Masao's Ero power has been charged back to full potential, and he is waving his ding-dong like pestle like he is ready to smash the opponent. After announcing both of their titles and names, the teacher finally begins the fight against each other, and Moa starts waving her sword ahead of her opponent like she is about to cut through him. Her sword skill reminds the others of the wavering pain they were facing the whole time. But nothing happens to Masao or Sutafu at all as Masao manages to calm the situation down by protecting his master with his body. Realizing that the usual strike is not enough against someone like Masao, Moa charges against Masao, and they both clash against each other, but Masao keeps on defending the whole time. Even though they have been fighting the whole time, Masao starts peeking under the skirt of his opponent to realize that Moa has a fine body, despite being muscular in the first place. When she is unable to understand why the wooden stick is that hard, Masao thanks her for making it hard like that, but she is unable to fathom what he has been trying to say. Soon enough, Moa starts rushing in the air, assuming that the whole clash will end up finishing him, and Masao manages to notice that she doesn't have any panty under her clothing. Just when she is about to land, Masao cuts through the clothes she has been wearing by landing a successful strike, and naked Moa gets on the ground on her own. Everyone is unable to wonder why and how someone like Masao won against Moa, who has been using a sword the whole time, and Masao has been fighting with a wooden stick. Even though Moa resists taking the coat out of Masao, Masao claims that his intentions were never to hurt a woman in the first place, as he focused on settling the matter of insult against his master. When Moa begins to overreact, Bloom insists that she has lost the battle, as her sword ends up breaking apart, as knowing when to quit is rather important as well. Bloom moves close to Masao, claiming that he has successfully impressed her, and she then asks for forgiveness from Sutafu by bowing in front of her. Even though Bloom thinks that Sutafu would be insulting her, Sutafu asks Bloom to become more considerate of her attendant Moa, as she can't help but feel sad for her prior behavior. Even though Bloom praises Moa and moves on since they have already lost, Moa begins to stumble to keep up with her master. When the whole dramatic scenario ends, the teacher insists that it was a valuable lesson for everyone present at the scene, and Sutafu kisses Masao on the cheek in front of everyone as his prize. Even though Bloom has been busy keeping her composure in front of everyone else, she is not being able to keep her anger in check. After starting the academy life with Calliope and Sutafu, a lot of things happen as they find themselves learning the national language, biology, arithmetic, history, etiquette, and even sports. Along with all of those lessons going on, Masao keeps enjoying every night of his life, having fun with such gorgeous women as he cannot get enough of it, no matter how much he does it. Just like that, without any kind of visible issues, Masao managed to pass half of the year almost instantly, and there was something that kept worrying him, who was none other than Bloom, as she had been trying to get close to them. But Sutafu gets too tired of her annoyance, and she starts to scream on her own. She claims that she wants friends but not someone like her, and now in the way she is processing the things around them, Calliope realizes that Bloom must be going after Sutafu as much as possible, and this is why she has been focusing on creating some kind of relationship with her. But none of them knows why she has been doing these. It can be for revenge, or she might be targeting to scout Masao in the first place, and Masao is hella confused as well, since she is not doing any damage to either of them whatsoever. Just when Sutafu insists that Masao will have to deal with her, Masao feels like he can do everything, but none of that, since he barely knows anything about how to deal with the nobles. To control the impending anger, Sutafu, Masao, and Calliope both begin to cuddle her on the bed to keep her calm, and they are met with the proof of completing their first year from their teacher after some days. Even though she couldn't believe that they would manage to clear it in only 1 year, Sutafu started to whisper about the teacher in Masao's eyes. Soon enough, the teacher announces that they all will be taking on dungeon training to broaden their experience even further, and it seems that the whole world is filled with dungeons. The dungeons are filled with dangerous monsters and traps, and some ego traps can cause so much damage to the people entering it, and they have already learned a lot about it in the classroom. But instead of entering something outside of the campus, they will have to get into the dungeon that is being managed by the school authorities. Instead of thinking about the decision much, Masao and Calliope agree on doing the task, and Sutafu believes that she will be fine with it as well. Even though there are many monsters, she believes that she will be fine, and Masao and Calliope keep on patting her head to make her realize that they are proud of her. But they will need at least 5 people to get into a dungeon. And at that moment, Bloom comes out of nowhere, remarking that she has heard them talking. Bloom explains that she and her attendant Moa will join them on this journey, as they have managed to finish their program as well. And Sutafu thinks of dropping the idea of exploring the dungeon. Sutafu knows for sure that Bloom is about to try her best to disturb them in the dungeon, and Masao realizes that she is rather scared of Bloom than she is of the monsters. While Bloom is directing the whole thing through, Calliope realizes that they cannot see her attendant Moa anywhere, as it must mean that she didn't think of her consent. And Bloom insists that she doesn't need to take her permission since she is her attendant after all. After hearing Bloom talk, Sutafu insists that she would never behave like that to Masao, and Callippa in her whole life, and Bloom still sticks to the decision of exploring together. Bloom knows that they will have to wait for months not years to manage someone perfectly to attend this excursion together, and they will never be allowed to attend the dungeon if they do not have a group of 5 members. Realizing that they do not have anything in control, Sutafu agrees to attend the exploration together, assuming that she will keep her focus up. But even so, the teacher explains that it cannot happen since Moa didn't manage to finish the subjects that she was studying. At that time, Bloom claims that Moa will soon pass, and they will attend the dungeon exploration sooner rather than later. When Moa finally passes the exam, she is out of her mind hearing that Bloom didn't think of getting her permission to explore the dungeon. But they manage to pull through it by traveling to the location in the specific carriages. All of them travel together to reach the location, and as soon as they arrive, a dwarf welcomes them to the entrance of the Cauldron of Hell, and the man seems to be the admin of the dungeon. After hearing the man talk, they realize that students rarely manage to pull through the exams to join the exploration. But they have managed to make it possible, which means that they are better than the rest. Even though they are capable, the admin warns them, saying that underestimating the danger of the dungeon will only result in their death, and they are unable to see through the darkness of the dungeon. While everyone is shivering in fear, Masao is excited knowing that he is about to enjoy the adventure thoroughly till the end of it.